Thank you so much. So thanks much for this opportunity, privilege to talk in front of the esteemed guests at the meeting. Please stop me if there is any issue with the voice and I can try and adjust. So just to give a quick background, like Dr. Malini said, I head the technology commercialization portfolio at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in India, which with a focus on sanitation technology. Essentially, we are looking at what happens after the water is flushed down, the back end water treatment, the black water treatment along with the fecal sludge and so on, and the fecal matter. So over the past 10 years, since 2010, Mr. Gates and the team have been on a mission to see how we can transform change this whole entire scenario of back end treatment from what it is presently, which is almost for the last 100 years. Not much of an improvement has happened in terms of the flush toilet technology, or we call it the way water is treated once it takes the fecal matter and goes on to sewage treatment plants and so on, and how we can improve it so as to have a positive impact on the lives of people, the millions and even billions of people that live across the world, mostly in the emerging economies. So as part of this, they conceived of what is called the reinvented toilet challenge. Now, reinvented toilet is a phrase that was coined by Bill when he thought that, for the last 100 years, like I said, not much of a technology shift has happened as far as toilets are concerned. The front end has gotten better, more luxurious and so on. But the back end treatment has pretty much remained a little bit of stagnant in terms of how the whole flushing system and what happens after flush and so on is concerned. So he called for technology companies to participate. And we've had two such events actually, one in 2014 in New Delhi and one in Beijing in 2018. And both of them, the goal was to invite technology pioneers or those interested in sanitation space to come with innovative solutions that will take up the water mixed with the fecal matter, find ways to treat the solids to harmless material that can be discharged safely, as well as the water that can be reused back for multiple purposes, even to the extent some of the inventions have taken it to the level of you can actually go and drink that water, right? It becomes portable. So that sort of technology innovation was being fueled through this challenge, and the foundation has spent I would say close to around $500 million over the past few years in encouraging the technology experts to come and develop these solutions. Most of them are housed within academic institutions of repute like Caltech, University of South Florida, Duke University. And the challenge was open pretty much to anyone from across the globe. And we do have commercial partners as well in India. And of course, we work with experts across India, including ASCII, CEP, CSI, and so on, in trying to see how these solutions can really reach to the end users whom they're intended to reach. So there are multiple classes of products that we have designed. The main objective was to note that the whole world is not going to get sewered anytime soon. I mean, I think in India, if you look at it, maybe around 60-70% of the country still doesn't have a centralized sewerage connection. And so it's going to take time before such infrastructure gets built. And as of now, we have a lot of on-site treatment options, containment and treatment options, like septic tanks, holding tanks, and so on, which vary in the level of treatment that they offer. So for this purpose, we came up with the reinvented toilet, which essentially collects the black water generated by households, by commercial facilities, and so on, treats them on site without the need for them to be really desludged frequently, and make sure that the solids that come out of it are harmless, nutrient-rich biosolids, which can be discharged to or given away to farmers or for any kind of, can be discharged safely where appropriate. And the water can really be reused without harming the environment in any way. And within RT, to give you a brief, the ultimate vision of the foundation is what we call the single user reinvented toilet, which essentially means every household will have one toilet, every restroom in the household will have a toilet, which is like a household appliance, like a washing machine or something, which doesn't really have to have a plumbing connection. Pretty much people can go about their business in terms of their overall collection of the fecal matter, and the whole thing stays in a loop, gets treated, and what comes out of the restroom is really harmless material. That is the ultimate vision, and I think we hope to get there by 2030 and really scale it up by 2050 to a majority of households globally. But before that, what we have ready today as a product that can be commercialized is what we call the multi-user reinvented toilet. Here, the front end remains the same in terms of how we use it today. The toilets are still the same. The water is collected along with the sludge, along with the matter, fecal matter, and then that is treated on site. It replaces a septic tank essentially, or maybe not replace the septic tank, but replaces the treatment offered with septic tank, so that what is collected is treated on site and can be let out even into stormwater drains, for example, without the need for additional treatment. So this is part of the distributed solution that we have developed. Shibul, if you don't mind putting up that slide, maybe just I can talk through it, but for a visual understanding, that will be helpful if you can do it. Thank you. So that is one of the solutions. Then we also have, as part of the fecal septage treatment plants, we have the OmniProcessor technology, which also I briefly touch upon. Can you go to the next slide, please?
So just one second, Venkat, just to those who joined late. So we are talking about the Reinvent the Toilet is looking at treating the waste coming out of toilet at 3 points. One is right where you are using the toilet, right? In our own household, right beneath the toilet, whatever waste is coming out gets treated there itself. There is no need to move it, right? That is one part. Second is there are mobile trucks. So the desludging trucks will act as a treatment system where the wastewater gets treated there itself and is let out into the drain. And the fecal matter can go to the fecal/treatment plant, or the desludging truck becomes a complete treatment system where it treats both liquid and solid waste. And third, of course, is the fecal/treatment plant where the waste carried from the desludging vehicles will get treated. Right? These are the three components. Thank you.
If you don't mind going to the next slide, please, Shivan. Yeah, the next one. 2 slides, yeah. The next one, please. Maybe the next one, sorry. Yeah, so this covers the entire sanitation value chain, like Dr. Malini just said. So basically, you have containment happening at the point of generation of the wastewater along with the fecal matter. And then we have, if it's sewer, it probably goes through a network of sewer pipes and then gets to a central STP, sewage treatment plant, where it's treated. Solids, the solids that come out of that system, maybe they're composted, or they're given a secondary treatment and then disposed of. And what we have noticed here is that there isn't a complete pathogen elimination that happens, which gets into the system, gets into the soil, into water bodies, and that has a very negative impact on the healthcare of citizens. And I think there are some estimates by UNICEF and maybe, if I'm not mistaken, I think by UN and others, which put this anywhere between 5 to 7% of the GDP of the country. I think most studies, the studies are evolving constantly, but this is sort of, it has a negative impact, a significant negative impact on the productivity and the GDP of the country because of the waste not being completely treated of pathogens and being let out. So basically the 3 suite of products that Dr. Malini also just mentioned. The first one, the reinvented toilet, you see inside that red square there, it will address the entire issue then and there within the facility. So you treat your waste, you have stuff that is coming out of the whole system, which can be safely discharged. And then talking about mobile treatment units, I'm sorry. So these are again trucks that can go from one home, one household, one facility to another, and they take the wastewater coming out of the households, treat them. They spend around an hour and a half to treat them, and give back water that can be reused for flushing, for gardening, and so on. And the solids that remain within the truck, they are pretty much treated to a level of near pathogen elimination, without the need for further treatment, except maybe some level of a day or two of drying, if at all. But I think that is also being constantly improved. And then the third piece is what you have. You have septic tanks, households with septic tanks, facilities with septic tanks. Trucks come, sort of desludge them and take them to an FSTP. This FSTP could also be co-located with an STP, and then their thermal treatment happens, where the sludge is treated to create biosolids, which are harmless, completely free of pathogens, and water again, which can be reused for anything like flushing, gardening. It can even be let back into the system for plumbing, but obviously there are certain issues around cultural issues why people wouldn't be comfortable using that water back in the plumbing system again. But nonetheless, the whole pathogen elimination is the key, which ensures that there isn't any harm coming out of the treated outputs that come out of these systems. So these are the 3 suites of products, and the main focus is, of course, on the multi-user reinvented toilet, because we feel that has a very strong user base, an application that makes a lot of sense, especially in congested urban areas, as well as in rural areas where you don't want, with high water table areas like Odisha, for example, and so on, where you don't really want waste, fecal waste getting into water, the groundwater and so on, which can lead to a lot of issues. So there are multiple technology partners that have developed these solutions, and they have licensed them to a few commercial partners in India and elsewhere. And we are working with them as we are building the market. We have about 3 pilot systems that we have done with the larger centralized FSTP, which is, our solution is called the Omni processor. So I will cover that briefly. But yeah, if you can just, yeah, this talks about the MERT. Sorry, 2 slides before. Previous one. Yeah, thanks. So this essentially talks about the value proposition of the MERT in a nutshell. So everything in situ containment and treatment happens. And we have a few technologies that are on offer as far as the multi-user reinvented toilet or the MERT is concerned. And we have companies that are offering this as a product in the country, and we are working with a few of our channel partners in trying to get this, making an outreach into the market and trying to make sure that these can be proliferated over time. Yeah, please stop me if there are any questions, but I'll just keep progressing over the next slides. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think these probably we are all aware of in terms of how much.
No, I just have an observation to make, Venkat, with regards to this mobile treatment system. So the one that was, I think, in display during the Beijing exhibition, we were told that at the current technology can treat only if the extent of solids is to about 1 to 3%. But I think the desludging characteristics in India, the composition is such that the solid content is varying from about 6% to sometimes even 12%. So I think that was an observation, and perhaps we are looking at having more technologies which are more suited to Indian context as well.
Absolutely, and we actually have one of our partners, Washai, have developed a mobile treatment unit which has undergone continuous improvement based on your, actually rightfully observed. So I think that has reached a stage where this really can take higher concentration of solids than what was seen back in 2018. I think that has been addressed to a great extent, but I think that's a very valid point that we need to be suitable to what you experience in Indian context. Thank you. Yeah, please next slide. Sorry. I mean, we spoke about this. So basically, you get to conserve water on site. This puts less stress on the city or the urban localities sort of sanitation system. Whether you're sewered or, especially if you're non-sewered, then you really don't have much of a load that comes on in terms of the STP. You have a lot of treatment happening in multiple facilities where feasible within the facility itself, so that though they are pretty much self-sufficient as far as treating their waste is concerned, which is a huge sort of positive, leapfrogging many of the solutions that conventional systems might not be able to offer, because you need to have desludging, you need to take it to a centralized location and then treat it and then get it disposed of and so on. Next slide, please. So this is just an example of what we have installed in India, in a school in Kerala, a couple of systems in Coimbatore, where if you look at the figure at the bottom right corner, so the level of treatment can be seen, the water coming in and then how it has been treated. So these are different technologies that our technology partners offer, right from electrochemical reactions to anaerobic digesters to thermal systems and so on. So like I said, over the past 10 years, multiple technology pioneers have participated in the challenge, have been able to put forth an idea that has been bettered by the foundation experts and then taken to the next stage, developed and brought to a stage where they can be commercialized. So I think a lot of work has been done in the last few years, and it's all culminated in a product that can really be sort of implemented in the field today, and that's where we are as we speak. And we are really looking to develop this further, refine this further, of course, with a very clear understanding that at the end of the day, it has to be commercially feasible. So the value engineering, localization for the Indian context, cost optimization efforts are underway, and we're trying to build in the first few systems so that we can travel along the cost curve and get it ready to the physics limited scale driven costing, which what we call the should cost. So that is the effort at which we are in. But as a system, these have been proven to work in the field as well as in live sort of settings where actual people generate waste and that is being treated. Next slide, please. And this just gives you an image of how it looks like. So as you can see, there are multiple ways to set this, but these are containerized solutions. So we can actually move these around. For example, you have a school that needs this, and then, for some reason, 6 months, the pandemic showed us like schools are shut for some time. You want this to be used elsewhere. This can be transported as well as a treatment unit. Again, these are smaller treatment units. When you set up a much larger one, probably it has to be sitting there where it's actually being done. But it gives you the option of going with very small, it's akin to distributed energy systems. You could have a very small solar system, you could have a large solar system on your roof, right? So it's very similar to that. So basically this can be transported and it's very flexible in terms of how you want to utilize this. And the installation is very simple. It's pretty much made in the factory and brought there with very little civil work that is needed to set up this system. Next slide, please. Yeah, I mean, I think we can skip this. It gets into some detail for those of you who are interested. Happy to share these slides. But it talks about, it can go from 5 KLD. Actually, it's 5 KLD to 25 KLD. Sorry about those numbers there. And it has been done on a school in Kerala. It's been working really well. And we are actually looking to expand this into few schools in Gujarat as well, based on what they've seen. So coming to cost, again, like I said, these are I say question on cost. So just quickly, I want to address that. So as of now, we still don't have scale-driven costing for these, but I think you will be expecting a premium of 30% or so compared to conventional systems that you see, like an aerobic systems that you can pretty much see in terms of most of the applications. But I think the cost factor is getting stabilized, and as we hit, say, close to 500 units or so, we expect to see a much better cost. But I can share those numbers, and they are, I would say a premium of 30 to 40% compared to conventional systems as of now. But then the level of treatment, if you look at the life cycle cost over a 10-year period, for example, the frequency of desludging goes significantly low. It's extremely low. And also in terms of what comes out of it, the water reuse, conservation of water, as well as the solids are completely pathogen free, as you can see on the right side. So the treatment quality is much, much better than most conventional systems. And so it's not really an apple-to-apple comparison. You take a life cycle cost and build in quality as a factor. I think it pretty much is levelized even today, if I could say that. Next slide, please. Yeah, before I go there, I see a question from Dr. Patel. Yes, it can be retrofitted to any existing system because it's just a back-end treatment unit. So I don't see a challenge in terms of how it can be retrofitted, because the containment itself can be a holding tank or so, but the back-end treatment is what we offer as part of the art. I think Mr. Majumdar has his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Venkatesh. I just have a query. So I was fortunate to actually attend the reInvent the toilet challenge that was organized in Hyatt Regency Hotel in 2014. So I saw some of the models that were initially developed there. One of the queries I had at that time, and I still have now 6 years down the line, I wonder if you have ever been to West Bengal and seen the arsenic treatment units dotted around the rural landscape. West Bengal has more than 5,000 arsenic removal units because of arsenic affected areas. These are all technologies, high-end technologies brought in from Europe and the US, put into place in West Bengal, given to the panchayats, and after 1 year of functioning, I think every one of them are defect. The problem is that the disposal in that particular case is the disposal of the arsenic concentrates and residues, how it's affecting groundwater, operation maintenance issues. So what I'm basically trying to point out is putting in a very advanced technological system into an Indian context without adequate support. Are you looking at that point of view, and how do you ensure sustainability of such a system? I don't know, you didn't mention about the cost. The cost, both the setting up cost as well as the operation maintenance cost, and its feasibility is. I'd be grateful if you could please spend some time on these 2 points.
Absolutely, thank you, thanks, Vijay. So I think the question, I mean, you hit the nail really in terms of how sustainable these are. If you put these systems in the field, great, they look great, they perform great there, but then the most important point for the foundation, based on all our experience in other geographies, including Africa, is that these cannot be monuments that sit there after they're installed for a year, like you rightly said. These have to function for a period of time, 10 years, a long period of time, for the lifetime, right? And so we are really focusing on making sure that the operation and maintenance can be easily streamlined with respect to what kind of training is needed and who can actually do these. I mean, we focus a lot, as you might be aware, we work with ASCII and others as well. So we focus on getting self-help groups, women self-help groups, transgender groups, and so on, to really maintain FSTPs. I think the foundation's gender team, the communities team, have been sort of championing it along with other partners. We're working with the government in making sure that operation and maintenance of any sanitation asset is planned, thought through, and it is being promoted within the right communities who can come in and use that as an opportunity to develop and so on. So I think in that context, we are also working on setting up centers of excellence and the engineering field testing platform to make sure that there is an ecosystem of overall sanitation entrepreneurs, or when I say sanitation entrepreneurs, I mean an ecosystem of O&M providers among the community that can really come in and take this up and do it as an opportunity, and that's a focus for us as well. And we don't see a challenge in terms of this being super sophisticated, that the training cannot be sort of imbibed within self-help groups. So that has been our experience. But to answer your question, that is a prime focus for us, and we have not lost sight of that as we are trying to scale this up. With scale, we need to make sure that these can be operated and maintained appropriately for a length of time, for a long period of time, and that is one of the pillars of our commercialization strategy. But thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you.
And in terms of, like I said, the overall life cycle costing, definitely, if you look at it from a life cycle perspective, when you add treatment, when you have some weightage for the quality of treatment and so on, and if you include the real estate, the area footprint needed as well for this whole system, then I think from a life cycle perspective, we have seen apple to apple. If you normalize, it's not that far off today. And like I said, between a factor of say 1 to 1.3 or so is where we are. That's because we really don't have much of a domestic manufacturing at scale visibility yet. We are working on that the overall scale manufacturing cost optimization, which is underway, and we are looking to support and work with multiple partners as to build that initial scale. But I think with hitting 500 units or so, which shouldn't, the opportunity is just endless for any private sector player to come in. We believe that those figures can be hit, and in terms of the standard of treatment, I think that really brings in a lot of value in terms of ultimately where you'll end up comparing a conventional system and reinvented toilet system.